What if one question could rewrite your entire future? Picture this: a single moment, a single spark of curiosity, unlocking doors to wisdom, connection, or a path you never imagined. Welcome to The Art of Asking, the podcast where we uncover the profound power of questions, those tiny keys that open massive possibilities. I'm Emily Carter, your host, and I'm beyond excited to launch this journey with you. Today, we're diving into a question that might just change how you see the world. Why do we need to ask? And here's something to keep you hooked. By the end of this episode, you'll uncover a strategy that icons like Oprah Winfrey and Elon Musk use to transform their lives, and it's simpler than you think. Joining us is Dr. Benjamin Foster, a personal development expert who's inspired thousands by championing the art of asking. Dr. Foster, thank you for being here on The Art of Asking.
Emily, it's a thrill to be here. Questions aren't just tools for answers. They're the sparks that ignite growth, shape relationships, and redefine our futures.
I love that framing. Dr. Foster, let's kick things off with a story. Can you share a moment when a question completely turned your life upside down?
Let me take you back, Emily, to a crisp autumn day in Boston, over 20 years ago. I'm a 19-year-old college sophomore, sitting in a philosophy seminar, surrounded by towering bookshelves and the faint scent of old leather. My professor, a wiry man with a knack for provocative questions, leans forward and asks the class, "What truly makes you feel alive?" That question hit me hard. I was coasting through an engineering major, checking boxes for a successful future, but I'd never paused to consider what alive meant to me. That night, in my cramped dorm room, I started journaling. What am I living for? What do I want my life to stand for? Those questions unraveled everything. They led me to abandon engineering and pursue personal development, a path that felt like coming home to myself. Here's the wild part. That question wasn't even mine. It came from someone else. Yet it acted like a mirror, forcing me to confront my assumptions and dreams. That moment taught me that questions have this uncanny ability to pause time, make us reflect, and set us on a new course.
That's such a powerful story, Dr. Foster. Did you know that children ask about 300 questions a day, but by adulthood, we're down to fewer than 20? Why do we lose that curiosity, and how do questions fuel our ability to learn and grow?
That's a staggering drop, Emily, and it's a tragedy. Questions are the oxygen of learning. They breathe life into our minds. When you ask, "Why does this work this way?" or "What's possible here?" you're not just gathering facts. You're driving your brain to explore, connect, and create. Here's something mind-blowing. Harvard research shows that when we ask questions, our prefrontal cortex, the brain's hub for critical thinking and problem-solving, lights up like a fireworks show. The study found that questioning triggers neural pathways linked to curiosity, increasing dopamine release, which makes learning feel rewarding. This isn't just abstract science. Every question you ask literally rewires your brain to be sharper and more creative. Take Elon Musk as an example. When he started SpaceX, he didn't accept that rocket launches had to cost billions. He asked, "Why are rockets so expensive? Can we rethink the entire process?" That question led to reusable rockets, slashing costs, and making Mars a real possibility. Without that bold inquiry, we'd still be stuck in the old space race. But it's not just for visionaries. I remember feeling trapped in a dead-end job years ago. One night, I asked myself, what would I do if I weren't afraid of failing? That question wasn't just intellectual. It stirred something deep inside, giving me the courage to pursue my passion for mentoring. Questions don't just teach us. They transform us, pushing us to live more authentically. And stick around, because later I'll share a practical trick to ask questions that spark breakthroughs in your everyday life.
That's so fascinating. The science and your story really bring it to life. For those of us who hesitate to ask, maybe because we're afraid of looking ignorant, how can we rediscover that childlike curiosity?
I love this question, Emily, because it's where so many of us get stuck. Here's a surprising truth. Studies show that people who ask more questions are perceived as more competent, not less. So asking isn't a weakness. It's a badge of intelligence and courage. The first step is to reframe asking as an act of strength. Then, try this simple challenge. Commit to asking 3 questions a day in different moments. At work, you might ask, what's the bigger vision behind this project? With a friend, what's something new you've learned recently? Or to yourself, why do I feel this way about this decision? What would happen if you made curiosity a daily habit? These small acts build a muscle, and soon, asking feels as natural as breathing. I saw this with a young professional I mentored, Sarah. She was shy, always fading into the background at company events. I encouraged her to ask one thoughtful question at a networking event. What's one lesson from your career you wish you'd learned earlier? The senior manager she asked lit up, shared a 20-minute story about his early mistakes, and later invited her to join a high-profile project. One question turned her from an observer to a key player. There's science behind why this works. Research from the University of Toronto shows that asking questions signals engagement and openness, which builds trust and likability. When Sarah asked her question, she wasn't just seeking information. She was showing genuine interest, which made the manager feel valued. So every time you ask, you're not just learning. You're building stronger connections and boosting your confidence. Look at Malala Yousafzai. As a young girl, she asked, why can't girls go to school like boys? That question wasn't just curious, it was defiant, sparking a global movement for girls' education. If Malala could ask in the face of danger, we can find the courage to ask in our daily lives. If you're nervous about judgment, start in safe spaces. Ask a trusted colleague, what's one thing you found helpful in this role? Or try it with family. What's a memory that always makes you smile? What would change if you asked one brave question today? And coming up, I'll share how a single question at a conference led to a life-changing mentorship for me.
Sarah's story and Malala's courage are so inspiring. And get this, Stanford research says asking genuine questions makes people trust you 30% more than just sharing facts. How do questions build such powerful relationships?
Questions are the glue of connection, Emily, because they show you care about someone's world. A few years ago, I was at a tech conference in San Francisco, swimming in a sea of suits and startup pitches. I met a CEO whose company I admired. Instead of pitching my credentials, I asked, what's been the most rewarding moment in your journey with this company? His eyes lit up. He told me about the early days in a garage, surviving on coffee and dreams, and the first time a customer thanked him for changing their life. We talked for 40 minutes, and he handed me his card, saying, let's grab coffee. That question didn't just start a conversation. It built a mentorship that shaped my career. Why does this happen? Stanford's research, which you mentioned, shows that when you ask about someone's experiences with genuine curiosity, it triggers oxytocin release, the bonding hormone, in both you and the other person. In fact, people are 30% more likely to trust you when you ask thoughtful questions rather than just share information. So every thoughtful question you ask is like planting a seed for trust and connection. Sheryl Sandberg showed this when she met Mark Zuckerberg. Instead of leading with her resume, she asked, what's your vision for connecting the world? That question sparked a dialogue that revealed Zuckerberg's passion, laying the foundation for her role as Meta's COO. Questions build bridges because they make people feel seen and valued. Here's how you can do this. What if you swapped "How's your day" for "What's been the highlight of your week"? That small shift invites a story, not a one-word answer, and suddenly you're building a real bond. Try it at work, with friends, or even with strangers. And later, I'll share how a question transformed a nonprofit's entire strategy.
That's so true. Those small shifts make such a difference. But can questions go beyond personal bonds and spark bigger changes, like in society or the world?
Absolutely. Emily, questions can reshape entire systems. Take Steve Jobs. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company was on its knees. Instead of asking, how do we fix our computers? He asked, can we create something so beautiful and intuitive that people can't imagine life without it? That question birthed the iPod, iPhone, and a digital revolution. Without it, our world would look radically different. Or consider the #MeToo movement. Tarana Burke asked, how can we create a safe space for survivors to tell their stories? That question ignited a global reckoning, amplifying silenced voices and reshaping conversations about power. On a smaller scale, I saw this when consulting for a Chicago nonprofit struggling to engage young donors. I asked, What if we stopped assuming what young people want and asked them directly? That led to focus groups, revealing they wanted transparency and hands-on involvement. The nonprofit revamped its approach, and donations from that group tripled in a year. Questions challenged the status quo, opening doors to solutions no one saw coming. This power comes from how questions disrupt our thinking. A 2018 study from MIT found that asking why or what if questions activates the brain's default mode network, which is linked to creativity and big-picture thinking. In other words, asking bold questions doesn't just solve problems. It rewires how we imagine what's possible. You can do this in your community. Ask, why does our neighborhood lack green spaces? Or what would make our schools more inclusive? What could change if you asked one question about a cause you care about? Start small. Raise it at a town hall, start a group chat, or post it online. Greta Thunberg did this at 15, asking, why aren't we doing everything to save the planet? Her question sparked global climate strikes. If she can do it, so can you.
From jobs to Greta, these stories are incredible. For listeners eager to use questions to transform their lives, what's a practical way to start?
I'm thrilled to share this, Emily, because anyone can tap into questions' power. My favorite method is the game-changing question. Each week, carve out a quiet moment, over coffee, on a walk, and ask yourself one bold question. What would I do if fear wasn't holding me back? How can I bring more joy into my routine? Or what's one way I can make a difference in my community? Write it down and let it simmer. Then, take one small step. If you ask, how can I grow as a leader? Read a leadership book or ask a mentor for advice. If you wonder, what's stopping me from my passion? Journal about your fears and plan one action. What would your life look like if you asked one big question every week? I did this a few years ago, feeling restless in my career. I asked, what would my life look like if I focused on what fulfills me? That question led me to shift toward mentoring, one of the most rewarding decisions I've made. It wasn't instant, but that question was my compass. Maya Angelou asked herself, how can I use my voice to heal and uplift others? That shaped her poetry and activism, touching millions. Make it fun, try it with others. Host a dinner where everyone shares a question they're grappling with. I did this once, and a friend asked, how do I balance ambition with contentment? Another wondered, what's the legacy I want to leave? The conversation was electric, and we all left inspired. Why does this work? A 2020 study from Stanford found that self-directed questions, like, what do I really want, increase activity in the brain's reward centers, making you more motivated to act. In other words, asking yourself big questions doesn't just clarify your goals, it lights a fire to pursue them. Before we wrap up, I'll share one final question that can spark a breakthrough for you today.
I'm stealing that dinner party idea. It sounds amazing. Dr. Foster, you've given us so much to think about. What's that final question you'd leave our listeners with?
Here it is, Emily. What's one question you've been afraid to ask yourself, and what would happen if you did? That question is a doorway. It might lead to a new career, a deeper relationship, or a bold idea. Don't let fear hold you back. Ask it today. You'll be amazed at where it takes you.
Dr. Foster, you've shown us that questions are pure magic, sparks for growth, connection, and change. Thank you for this incredible conversation. Listeners, what's your game-changing question going to be this week? Try Dr. Foster's challenge. Ask one bold question, take one step, and watch your life transform. If this episode ignited your curiosity, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next dive into the art of asking. We've got more tools coming to master questions in your career, relationships, and beyond. Share this with a friend who needs a spark of inspiration, and let us know your questions on social media. We'd love to hear them. I'm Emily Carter, and I'll see you next time. Keep asking, keep exploring, keep shining.